Season 2, Episode 2 of the Belleville Sens podcast. The regular season is upon us. It begins in just days when the Belleville Sens visit the Hershey Bears to start 23-24. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the show. David Foote, Brock Ormond here, and we're going to chat a little bit about the roster today. On the program, we're going to catch up with the general manager of the Belleville Sens, Ryan Bowness, and we're going to get you all the info you need to know ahead of this weekend's season-opening matchups in Pennsylvania against the Bears and the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. Sens coming off a couple of preseason losses, Brock. I don't think you can read too much into the results because it is the preseason and the rosters are crazy inflated. But one thing is for sure, this is going to be a Belleville Sens team that does not let off the gas throughout the course of the 72-game season. No, and the new players coming in, or new old players, I guess. Lassie Thompson coming off of the waiver wire from Anaheim, and then getting Boko Imama in. Taryn Fizer coming back from Ottawa. Got a bunch of new guys in, so it's all about just developing chemistry and developing some sort of rapport with the guys they have during the season. A couple of guys sent back to junior as well, so, and the ECHL. It's all about, for David Bell, just getting some chemistry going and kind of setting his lines and having the opportunity to play in an actual game setting against two teams that they're going to be seeing a lot of this year. But, again, a lot of good things shown, a couple of close efforts, but unfortunately just not any wins. But I'm sure those will come down the line. Yeah, absolutely. And, again, preseason is just that. The Senators, as Brock mentioned, were missing a pile of players who were still up with the NHL club. We'll recap all of those roster moves for you here in just a moment. Frankly, everybody's rosters are just so all over the place that it is difficult to really get a true evaluation of the team itself. But the players, you can still watch and you can see who might fit well and who maybe won't. And Dave Bell and his staff did have some tough decisions to make after the preseason games. Yeah, that's right. And one of them being gone back to Sudbury in the OHL is Jabril Toure. Very impressive, but very raw young defenseman, 6'7", about 200 or so pounds, and him getting an opportunity to play his overage year with the Wolves will certainly do him good down the line. But he got some AHL experience in Belleville and got some games in like Toronto and Laval, two very tough opponents as they always are. So it's just about getting them ice, and like Ryan Bowness, the GM, said in the media conference yesterday and Tuesday, he said Levi Merriline, a guy like him, is just getting his opportunities in the ECHL, getting an opportunity to play with the Allen Americans like Kevin Mandolese did last year. It seemed to work out for him. So it's all about getting those opportunities down at the other levels to see what you have in store, and then once there's a break or if somebody gets called up, somebody gets injured, then there's your opportunity to come up and shine like Levy did last year. Yeah, and here is the most recent spate of roster moves. The Sens releasing Mikhail Robidoux, Grant Hebert, Ryan Gagnon, and Eric Williams. They were all in camp from Allen on tryouts. Goaltender Mark Sinclair, who was signed to an AHL deal by the Senators in the summer, was also assigned to Allen. And then Levi Merriline, as Brock mentioned, assigned to Allen by Ottawa. And like you say, Kevin Mandolese played in a handful of games down there, got into some playoff action as well. And as Dave Bell told us during that media availability this week, that there's about 11 opportunities in the first 3 weeks of the season for Belleville goaltenders to start in Allen. Here, there's not as much opportunity, so it's just a matter of getting those young players, goaltenders especially, down and to play. Ryan Bowness said, I'd rather have them playing than not. And while there have been some questions, maybe some criticism about sending down a goaltender of the caliber of Levi Merriline, it's certainly not an unheard of thing to happen, and we've seen the results here that you play well there, you don't stay there too long. No, that's right, and you can't rush them either because we've seen what happens when you rush players and rush goaltenders in particular who tend to be of a different breed than most skaters. So it's all about, for Merriline and Sinclair, just getting their opportunities in Allen, playing with a very good organization that had a pretty good run last year, and believing in themselves, knowing that they can play at the professional level, and they've shown it already. Both Merriline and Sinclair had good stints, brief stints last year, but still very impressive and something that David Bell will keep a watch on
as the team goes forward, as both teams go forward, and see what they have to kind of bring in, and maybe they can catch somebody else's eye that may not have been on their radar before.
You mentioned Jabril Toure gone back to Sudbury. I think that's a smart move for the youngster. I mean, not that he looked out of place in a couple of preseason games here, but just like I'm a firm believer of finding success and dominating, being one of the best at the AHL level before going up to the NHL. I think the same rings true for the Ontario Hockey League, and it would be, I think, behoove the young defenseman to find some success, gain some confidence in the O, and then come back here to Belleville next season and just have that much extra added to his game.
Yeah, absolutely, and Sudbury's got a lot of good young players. Quentin Musty, who's in the San Jose organization, they got a bunch of players that can really develop well, and it's like that for a lot of junior hockey in college as well. Being the best you can be at that level before taking the trip up to the AHL permanently, and then eventually mastering that level and then moving on to the NHL. You're always taking that stepping stone if you include the ECHL as well. We just talked about the two goalies and a few of the other guys. It's all about just climbing the levels and keeping yourselves, focused on the goal. Obviously, the NHL is the goal, but the AHL and the ECHL are both great measuring sticks to see how you can do at the pro level as well as junior and college. So.
And how about the last slate of players coming down from Ottawa? Boko Imama, Max Gannett, Yuri Smekel, and Lassie Thompson, which it's been a bit of an odyssey for Lassie in the last week or so. Put on waivers by Ottawa with the intent of sending him to Belleville. The Anaheim Ducks pulled him off waivers, thought maybe they could work him into the lineup, played a preseason game or two with them. Didn't work out. They waive him, and here he is, claimed by Ottawa again and back in Belleville. Safe to say it's a pretty important season for Lassie Thompson.
Yeah, and it's great to have him be comfortable back in Belleville, too, a place where he's played the last couple seasons, and he knows this building, he knows this organization and the coaching staff, and Dave Bell and him have worked together as defense and coach and defensive player through the last couple of seasons under Troy Mann, and now him moved on to being the head coach. And Lassie Thompson's got a lot of great qualities. He's a great offensive player, quarterbacks the power play extremely well, moves the puck real, skates quite well for a bigger guy. But defensively, of course, there's always room to learn and to improve. And under Dave Bell here, I'm sure he'll get the best possible tutoring and best possible education of how to be a good defensive player in professional hockey here. So nice to see Lassie back in Belleville. Unfortunately, it didn't work out in Anaheim, but it's always great to have a familiar face back for the fans to see and cheer on.
Absolutely. We'll get into some more of the players on the roster for this season later on in the program. When we come back, we'll chat with the general manager of the Belleville Sens. Ryan Bowness will join us on Season 2, Episode 2 of the Belleville Sens podcast.
Cheer on your home team, the Belleville Senators. Edge of your seat action.
Puck out of the scrum for Max Gannett. Walking in, firing, scores!
Saturday, October 21st. Your Sens play the Laval Rocket, AHL affiliate of the Montreal Canadiens, at the home opener presented by CAA with a pregame fan fest, player red carpet, and fun activities. Gates open at 6. Full details on ticket options and more at BellevilleSens.com.
Go, Sens, go!
Continuing on episode 2 of Season 2 of the Belleville Sens podcast. Sens practice happening down on the ice at CAA Arena. We're up in the Jack Miller Press Box and Media Center and taking in the action as we get set for the regular season beginning this weekend in Hershey. David Foote, Brock Ormond here, and really pleased to be joined on the show by the general manager of the Belleville Senators. Ryan Bowness is in town for a couple days, and happy to have you on the show. Thanks for taking some time for us, Ryan.
Always a pleasure, Footy. Thanks for having me.
It's been a bit of a busy summer, to say the least, for yourself and the rest of the management staff on the hockey side in Ottawa. Obviously, the ownership change, a handful of new signings, you name it. It's been busy. I asked you this during the press conference as well this week, but how did you find the summer in general? Were you pleased with the work that's been done, and did you manage to address some of the issues that, or areas, I suppose, that you had highlighted prior to the offseason?
Yeah, it was an interesting summer, to say the least. Obviously, anytime you don't make the playoffs at both levels, everything has got to be looked at from top to bottom. You factor in an ownership change with that kind of hanging over everybody's heads. But, for us, we tried to approach it as business as usual and try to improve both clubs at both levels. And I feel like we've done that. We lost some good quality players and people from last year's roster, but the reality is we set in wanting to make changes because we didn't make the playoffs, and things had to be done. So right away, kind of tackled that, addressed some veteran leadership. I really wanted to focus on that and kind of help supplement Dylan Hetherington in that department. So I feel like we've addressed that with some of the signings, and then obviously some of the prospects coming in, including Tyler Clevin, Tyler Boucher, Zach Ostapchuk, a couple names there that are going to have an impact hopefully right away, but just again felt it was necessary to give them some help in the leadership department as well. Yeah,
and it does look like for sure that both teams in the NHL and here have improved, and certainly I think the buzz around the organization means that the fans believe that. What are the keys to now translating all that buzz and excitement into some productivity on the ice and some improvements in where both teams finished last year?
Well, hey, it's time to play the games.
Yeah.
You can win the summer all you want, but until you actually drop the puck and see how your additions come to fruition, there's that unknown. But I think, like you say, there is a buzz, there is a certain level of anticipation and excitement for this season, and I really can't wait to get going at both levels.
New additions on the coaching side here as well, with Chris Dennis and Nate McIver. That can be a big transition to deal with, but it seems like it's been fairly smooth here, especially even with Dave Bell taking over the reins for his first training camp. It seems like a couple of guys that are going to fit real nice here with this team.
Absolutely. They've both been great so far. My philosophy when we were going through the process, I told David right from the get-go that this is your staff. These are your assistants. You're gonna choose them. I can offer my 2 cents and opinions on them and step in when I need to, but I felt it. I always feel necessary that the head coach gets to pick his staff. So going through the process with David was great, and couldn't be happier with the 2 new additions in Nathan and Chris.
Yeah, and sticking with coaching, Ryan, I talk about Chris and Nate moving in, but also David Bell getting his first full year of actually head coaching with this Belleville Senators team. Can you highlight the importance of what it means to have full systems and strategies and everything in place with David in charge right from the very beginning, so that nobody's kind of wondering or left in the lurch as the season goes on?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, David got put in a pretty tough position last year when he took over midway through the year. It's tough to implement any kind of new changes and system-wise that when you're jumping in the middle of a season like that. But he's had a full off season. He's worked very closely with DJ Smith in Ottawa regarding systems play and how we want to play. So there's more of a cohesion between Ottawa and Belleville, because the reality is this is a development system for Ottawa, and when we call guys up, we want to have the transition into Ottawa's play be seamless, so we can call a guy up one day and he's playing the same system up top, so there's no questions. But Bellsy's, again, he's had a full summer to implement the way he wants to play here, and I think that's just going to benefit the whole organization.
Angus Crookshank's firing pucks up here. I don't know how that got here, but
he's coming after me.
Yeah, keep your head on a swivel up here for sure. It's the coaching changes. I think over and done with. It's Dave Bell's team. Everybody I think knows that now, and he's made that perfectly clear. And you talk about some of these other leaders on the player side that you wanted to bring in, and you immediately get a Calder Cup champion in Garrett Pilon, and that can't be an easy thing to pry a guy away from a team where he won a championship. Josh Curry was a captain in this league as well after some time overseas. It really, is a bit more of a veteran-laden lineup than maybe what we've been used to here.
Yeah, again, and that was an area I really wanted to address. I'm a strong believer that winning and development go hand in hand. That you want to have your kids in a healthy environment where they're not, you losing all the time and negativity around them all the time. So for me, it's very important to supplement them with quality character, veteran players and people. Like you said, you had a Josh Curry, you had a Matt Highmore, you had a Pilon who, as you mentioned, with championship pedigree coming in was very important to me. So again, that was an area I really, really wanted to address. I found it to be very important, and I'm thrilled with the additions that we've been able to make.
And it seems like a nice mix of skill and grit as well. You bring Boko Imama in. Yuri Smekel's a pretty big boy as well, and seems like he can use his body. And maybe you get a little bit more aggressiveness from Igor Sokolov, perhaps with a chip on his shoulder this season. But it does seem like a pretty well-balanced group on paper.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you go into any game, you want to be able to win different ways. And I think, obviously a lot of that is going to be incumbent on the players themselves and how the games are going to be dictated, but I feel comfortable in that department that we can win in different ways.
Yeah, and moving into the season as well, of course, you got to take these games kind of almost like in blocks to take them one at a time. But for the team itself, what does it mean to be playing the Hershey Bears at the beginning of the year, raising the Calder Cup banner? Do you see that as a spark for the guys to kind of will them to this type of a level, or do you think they already have that drive and determination in them to succeed, but this is just going to give them a little boost?
I think it's a great thing, to be honest with you. Bellsy and I have already discussed that. And, obviously we've been prepped with the pregame ceremony plans from Hershey's point of view, and I think it's important that our guys see that. I think they, that to sit there and watch another team raise a banner, it'll give you a little bit of a chip on your shoulder when you're on the other side and say, hey, that can be us in a year from now. So I think it's a good thing. It's a good way to start the season off, and hopefully we can go in there and gain 2 points that night.
Yeah, we've already talked to some of the guys about that, and they're looking forward to trying to spoil the party, to say the least.
That's the right attitude to take.
Absolutely. I'd like to talk goaltending just quickly. Obviously, there's been some attention on Levi Marilainen going to the ECHL, but Brock and I just talked in the opening of the show this week that it's not a doom or gloom or necessarily a bad thing to send a goaltender, even with his pedigree, down to the ECHL, because as you said to us in the press conference this week, the key is to have these guys playing and not sitting on the bench, right?
Well, exactly, that was the message we delivered to Levy. First of all, Justin Peters and Zach Burke have done an unbelievable job communicating with him and we presented this to him. We had a list of all the goaltenders that have played in the ECHL and gone on to have great careers in the NHL. So we were ready for that conversation, and as you say, the reality is he's got to play games. He's a kid. He's a first-year North American pro, getting accustomed to everything over here. So for us, when we looked at the schedules and saw an opportunity for him to have 11 starts in the first month in Allen versus maybe only a handful here in Belleville, it was really a no-brainer. So just because he's there now doesn't mean he's going to be there all year. We have a very good problem to have in that we have 3 quality goaltenders that are prospects in our system. So at the end of the day, they all know the situation. They know things can be interchangeable, and it's going to be incumbent on them to perform and make sure they're here.
Yeah, with that in mind and the fact that both saw some NHL time last season, how big of a year is this for Matt Sogard and Kevin Mendeleze?
Well, huge. I think, obviously last year, the carousel of goaltenders that we had going through both levels was something I've never seen before. Mm-hmm. But again, it's going to be up to them to perform, stay healthy, and get some more continuity in the crease. We feel like we're very established up top with 2 quality guys up in Ottawa, in Korpisalo and Forsberg, and then some very strong prospects here. Sogi's got to focus on being a top goaltender in the American League this year and staying healthy and going on a string where he performs to the level he's capable of, and same with Mando and Levy. We've got good depth at that position this season, and I can't wait to see how it transpires.
All right. Before we let you go, again, the regular season starts this weekend. Playoffs or bust has already kind of been the mentality that we've heard around the room. Once more, what does this team need to do consistently to pick up as many points as they can and to get back into the playoffs and through that first play-in round as well.
I think it's just, like you said, maintaining the systems that David's put in place. We're going to have a lot of internal competition, and I've already discussed this with some of the players here. Our depth is better than it's ever been here, and so with that becomes the pressure on them to perform every night. And if you're not, there's going to be quality players sitting in the stands in Belleville. That's just the reality of it. The guys know it. I think they're excited for the opportunity. They see the opportunity in front of them in terms of having a stronger team here this year. But again, if we're fully healthy, there's going to be a lot of good players sitting out every night that are regular AHL players. But again, great problem to have.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fans, for sure, when the team returns to CAA Arena on October 21st, I think will be pleasantly surprised with what they see on the ice and the group that's been brought in to do the job this season. That is make the playoffs and maybe more. We'll have to see, and we don't have to wait too long to find out with the season beginning this weekend. Ryan Bowness is the Assistant General Manager of the Ottawa Senators and the GM of your Belleville Sens. Thanks for the time, sir. Always appreciate it.
Anytime, Footy. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right,
thanks,
we'll
Ryan. Take
a quick break. Brock and I will be back with more roster chat, and we'll get you set for the season opener on Saturday in Hershey. Stick around.
Cheer on your home team, the Belleville Senators. Edge of your seat action.
On the backs of a 42-save shutout for Levy Marilainen.
Friday, October 27th, your Sens play the Toronto Marlies, AHL affiliate of the Toronto Maple Leafs for Student Night, presented by Loyalist College. Loyalist students will have access to a special ticket rate. Gates open at 6. Full details on ticket options and more at BellevilleSens.com.
Go, Sens, go!
Final segment of episode 2 of season 2 on the Belleville Sens podcast. David Foote, Brock Ormond here, and very appreciative to General Manager Ryan Bowness for his time, especially with the Ottawa Senators opening their season tonight as well. And that is, what day is it today, Brock? Wednesday. It's Wednesday, October 11th. The recording of this program, depending on where you're listening. So you got a couple days to ingest this before the season begins. On Saturday, the guys are finishing up practice. It's been another pretty high tempo and physical practice. That's basically been the case all training camp long. And before we broke to chat with Ryan, we were discussing the roster and some of the recent moves, both to Allen, to Sudbury of the OHL, and to Belleville from Ottawa. And we had mentioned Boku Imama, Max Gannett, Yuri Smekal, and Lassie Thompson, and you had just finished that thought on Lassie. We didn't even talk to Ryan about that. I'm pretty sure he's sick of discussing it. It's such a strange situation. We can tell you what he said to us in the press conference when he was asked this week, that they knew there would be a risk to put players on waivers. There always is. And fact of the matter is, somebody claimed Lassie, and that's the way it goes. They were lucky enough to get him back, and you can basically wash it out now. It doesn't really matter anymore. Lassie Thompson's back with the Senators and going to be dressing for Belleville this weekend. But we didn't talk about Boko or Max Gannett or Yuri Smekal. Let's start with Gannett because he stayed in Ottawa as long as you could. He was there for the whole camp. This is a kid who has been developing, I'm not going to say slowly, but consistently over the last 3 seasons, just getting better and better and better, and well-deserving, I think, of that extra look in the NHL, and I don't think was too far off from being able to stick up there.
Yeah, no, not at all. St. Foy, Quebec native. He's only 22 years old as well, so he's got lots of time to develop here, and definitely when you're that young and you're really giving the Ottawa Brass a good long look, that always bodes well for your future, and Max Gannett should be one of the leaders on this veteran-laden blue line. It's starting to form really well, David, with the amount of veteran guys that are coming back. You got Hetherington, Larson, Gannett, Bernard Docker, Thompson, Ryan McKinnon as well that's new to the team. Donovan Sabrango's a young guy, and Tyler Clevin, and then new guy Nicholas Matanpalo from Finland. So it's a very good-looking blue line right now that David Bell has in store, and it's fitting for a guy as rock-solid of a defenseman as he was, that he's the type of guy to have I don't want to put too many hard expectations on this team so far, but before they even played a regular season game. But this may look like one of the best defense corps in the AHL with how it's forming, and Max Gannett will certainly be a part of that. He looked very impressive last year in the chances that he was given, both here in Belleville and up in Ottawa. And offensively, he certainly can drive the point similar to that of Lassie Thompson. But again, defensively, it's all just about being tough on the puck and being hard to play against. And Max Gannett will certainly figure that out in the AHL. But he definitely had a good showing in Belleville, or a good showing in Ottawa. And now it's just all about coming back here and trying to learn from some of these other veteran guys that have been through it a time or two in the AHL, like a Hetherington, like a Ryan McKinnon, like even a Jacob Larson or Bernard Docker. They're not that old, but it feels like they're veteran guys already. So that should really bode well for this team on the defense and goaltending end.
Yeah, and 9 defensemen on paper, only 6 typically are going to dress. So like Ryan Bowness told us in the last segment, it's a good problem they have, but there will be good, high-quality players sitting in the stands in Belleville and kind of putting that extra pressure a little bit on their teammates to remind them, you got to play, you got to perform, or else somebody else is, we don't have to find somebody else to take your spot. They're already here and waiting, and they certainly will seize that opportunity if they get it.
That's right, and it's all about pushing the guys too, because in the NHL, similar to the AHL, similar to the NHL, it's all about pushing guys, and giving other players a chance to have to outplay you for a spot. And it's strange because they're supposed to be teammates, but at the same time you're also battling for spots, so it's almost a competitive nature within a team atmosphere, and that's not always a bad thing, especially here in Belleville with a team that David Bell has kind of alluded to needs to have a little more fire in terms of playing hard and getting involved and getting guys ready to go. To push for spots, and especially on D, but also up front as well. There's 15 forwards at this point in time in the active roster, and there's not all of them are going to play. There's going to be 3 guys at least sitting out on any given night. So it's good to have. It's a good problem to have, like we've said, to not be able to have guys in all the time, but have guys that are ready to go and to jump in once there's a call-up or whether there's an injury.
Let's touch on some of those forwards now. Let's start again with Boko Imama, who signed a 2-way deal in the summertime, and at that point Pierre Dorion had said, well, we signed Boko to play in Ottawa, and that could still be the case as the Sens try to figure out their cap situation in the NHL. But while he is here, this is a guy who is, I think, going to surprise a lot of people. His reputation maybe precedes him a little bit as a tough guy. I'm sure lots of people have seen the YouTube clips of Boko just hammering dudes, but he can skate, he can play, and Dave Bell will attest to that as somebody who is familiar with him from his time in the Ontario Reign organization out in California.
Yeah, 6'1", 220, but he feels a lot taller and bigger than that. An Arizona and Tucson product before, comes from Montreal. And, of course, he's a guy that you just love to have on your team. He'll stand up for anybody, give the jersey off his back for you, and throw down if he needs to, and also put the puck in the net if he needs to. And, of course, he's got a great story as well, coming from a family in Montreal, just building himself into a player. Maybe it was a little raw at first, but finds his way to the NHL last year with the Coyotes, and then now in the AHL with Belleville. Again, gave the Ottawa Brass a good, long, sobering thought process to see, what can this guy bring to our team, and he may be right on the bubble to be called up potentially as this season goes along, whether there's injuries or illnesses or anything else that happens up with the NHL parent club. But Boko Imama is a guy that can slot in just about anywhere in the lineup, too. So you could see him on the top line to protect guys like Cruikshank and Tyler Boucher and Sokolov. But you can also see him playing that little grind role with guys like Pilon and McPhee and even Yuri Smekal as well. So he's very versatile, and that's what Dave Bell likes about him, being able to put him anywhere in the lineup and have him succeed.
And you mentioned Smekal, another pretty big guy. He will be a power forward. That's kind of his role. Another guy that was maybe supposed to be in Ottawa after getting signed pretty early in the off season. Not even, I think it was like May that he signed at the World Championship. But here's a guy with a pile of international experience, not a lot of any pro experience in North America, but plenty of pro experience overseas, and like I say, lots of experience representing his country internationally, representing Czechia. So plenty of experience that, again, he can bring in here to this club, even though he's, again, not all that old of a guy.
No, he's turning, just about 27 years old, and the Czech native just found his way to really push, again, that Ottawa team to really give him a long look. Him and Roby Järventie are probably the two guys that a lot of Sens fans, both Ottawa and Belleville, thought maybe had a shot to make the O-Sens, but here he comes to Belleville, and he's going to be put right into that lineup, slot in to the top 9 at 6'4", 223. Again, much like Yamama, he brings size to this forward group that was maybe lacking a smidge last year outside of a guy like a Scott Sabourin, who will be missed this year. But Smekal is a strong guy, plays his wing very well, and he's going to be the type of guy that will crash that net and cause the opposing defenses and goalies absolute fits. And that's what you need to really cause a lot of trouble and give your team a better chance to win and better chance to score, because scoring obviously is going to be a key factor for the Sens, especially in the early going, because at times the last few seasons, even before COVID as well, it hurt them a little bit, and it ended up costing them points towards the end of the season.
Well, and there are a lot of guys who can fill the net. Angus Crookshank will be looked upon to carry some offense. Of course, Igor Sokolov, Matt Highmore is a proven goal scorer in the American Hockey League. Tyler Boucher has done it at junior. Josh Curry can score. Zach Ostapchuk, goal machine in the WHL. Cole Reinhardt obviously has shown that flash. And you got to go all the way down to the bottom of the roster to see Roby Järventie. But Brennan Saulnier's in there. Graham McPhee is in there. Like we said to the GM, this is a balanced team, arguably the deepest and most balanced that the Senators have had in their 7 years here in Belleville. And there is really a lot to look forward to this season. Again, like you said, not to put too high firm expectations on the club from our perspective, but we know the expectations are high.
Absolutely. And this roster looks, like you said, very balanced and very strong up and down the lineup. There's not too many holes, really. I mean, losing Jake Lucchini offensively was a big loss, and so was Scott Sabourin, as we mentioned. But getting Järventie back is huge. He was one of those guys knocking on the door in Ottawa. Crookshank was a 20-plus goal guy last year. You can only imagine he'll improve and step up his game a little more. Philippe Daoust back for a full season as well, after missing pretty much all last year with a major injury. So you can't forget about a guy like him who had some expectations last year to be a contributor, former St. John Sea Dog, and just unfortunately things didn't work out for him, but he's back in, and we talked about Saulnier, how great of a guy he was all the way up and down the lineup. Brings a little bit of swagger and some, good effort, good personality to the room. And same with Cole Reinhardt, who's been here, feels like, for a long time as well. Only 23 years old, and another guy that really put himself on the map in Ottawa. And you can just see it all the way up and down the lineup with how talented this group is. And you can see a lot of these guys, much like the previous crop before with Batherson and Norris and a whole bunch of other guys too up there. It's so great to see them develop, and who knows, you may be able to see those guys up in Ottawa very soon.
So the roster is basically set. You can get the full roster before Saturday's season opener in Hershey by staying tuned to the Sens social media at Belleville Sens. And we will have the game on the Belleville Sens Entertainment Network games this weekend on Saturday night in Hershey, 7 p.m. We're on the air around 6:45, and then Sunday afternoon from Lehigh Valley, we're on the air around 1:45. Should mention that both games this weekend free to watch on the AHL TV stream. All you have to do is go to watchtheahl.com and create an account, and this weekend you'll have access to games across the league, but of course we hope you'll watch the Belleville games. And then next week we're back home on October 21st, the home opener presented by CAA. Free cowbells for all fans. The Fan Fest starting at 4 p.m. The red carpet walk for the players. All of that is happening next week. Again, the details for that and more at BellevilleSens.com. How much are you looking forward to getting going here, Brock?
Yeah, very much so. In some ways, it feels like it's been a long off season, a long training camp and exhibition. But once the regular season hits, it can just fly, and that's why we hope to see a very good season from the Belleville Sens. I'm looking forward to seeing how all these guys form together, because it's looking like a very strong roster and a very balanced roster, like you said, with guys up and down the line that can contribute. And very much looking to see how David Bell does in his first full season in the AHL. There was some good moments from him last year behind the bench and the team as a whole. But now it's just all about putting everything on the table and getting ready for another good season. So I'm looking forward to it.
Questions will be answered sooner than later. Thanks again to Ryan Bowness for his time, to Brock for riding shotgun with me, and to you for listening. We'll talk to you next week on episode 3 of season 2 of the Belleville Sens podcast.